Hello and welcome to the Voice of Todd. I'm Tom, and today we're going to talk about that Mando season finale. This is for The Mandalorian, Season 2, Episode 8, Chapter 16, The Rescue. This episode is directed by Peyton Reed, who also directed Episode 2 of the season, and obviously written by Jon Favreau. This is what everything's been working to. Season 2 finale. Really wasn't expecting it to go like this. But let's get into the episode breakdown first. There will be spoilers, you have been warned. We open with Slave 1 hot on the tail of an Imperial shuttle. Again, seeing Boba and Slave 1 in action is always a treat. He's one of my favourite characters, and this is a really cool opener. Boba actually uses the ion cannon to disable the shuttle, and Mando and Cara Dune board. Shuttle's carrying Dr. Pershing, who is a show regular at this point. He's the guy who was after the child initially, back in episode 1. Get a little mouth from one of the Imperial pilots about Alderaan and the Rebel Alliance, but Dune, baring her teeth, just guns him down. She's not taking any prisoners now. Pretty cool scene. Again, really cool scene. 2 for 2. We then regroup on a planet. I don't know which one it was. I don't think it was mentioned. But we're going to see Bo-Katan. She's with Koska, but no Axe. I don't know where he is. He's vanished. A little side note here, just in the expanding universe of Star Wars, we get to see Bo-Katan's ship, which is a Comrade transporter. I think I said that right, I probably didn't. It's a really cool Mando ship from the Clone Wars and Rebels. I love the design, and it's pretty cool to see it in live action. Mando tells Bo that he knows where Moff Gideon is, and she finally comes clean with him and says that she's looking for the weapon that he's carrying. And this is where Boba speaks up. He's not that impressed with the two of the new Mandalorians, and they're certainly not impressed with the clone in Mandalorian armor. Koska kicks off a little bit with him. Boba bites back. They have a little throwdown. Again, a really cool little scene. I honestly think Boba would have wiped the floor with Koska, but it's quite a cool little scene. They have to work together, so at this point, Bo again extends the offer for Mando to join her in her quest to retake Mandalore. And they decide to put a plan together. They come up with a plan with the help of Dr. Pershing, who explains sort of what the Dark Troopers are. They're droids, obviously we knew that. And they do kind of build them up a little bit in this. They do need to be powered up before they are fully functional. So they have a little window to storm the ship if that's what they're going to try and do. So that's again quite useful information for them to know. And they decide to take the Imperial shuttle and have Boba taking pot shots to make it look as if the shuttle is being chased. So the plan basically boils down to Mando's going to go and stealth it alone, looking for Grogu. He's also going to try and shut down, or at least take the Dark Troopers out of the fight by blocking them in their container. While Bo, Koska, Dune and Fennec are going to draw fire and push onto the bridge to take the bridge. So that's the plan, and they drop out of hyperspace, heading towards Moff Gideon's ship. Probably not going to go as easy as they make it out though. They jump out of hyperspace in front of Moff Gideon's ship with a distress signal going out and Boba firing back at them. Moff Gideon refuses them entry to the ship because he's launching TIEs that's going to fend off and fight off Slave 1. 2 TIEs get launched before Bo just flies the shuttle into the hangar and blocks the exit, causing a few problems, but 2 TIEs are out there. Boba quickly cleans them up in Slave 1, which is again really cool to see. and our 4 females fight their way out the shuttle, clearing out the hangar with brutal efficiency and pressing forward through the ship. Mando, heading out behind, heads off towards the block where the Dark Troopers are, and to find Grogu with the Beskar spear himself. At this point, Gideon orders the Dark Troopers to be powered up. This is going to take a little bit of time, as was explained earlier, but their whole activation shots is just brilliant. Red neon smoke, it's very imperial, looks really cool. We follow our group of warriors as they're basically fighting through the ship at different points, cutting through stormtroopers, or gunning down stormtroopers. Each one gets their own little chance to shine. There's some pretty cool little bits with Bo and Costco working together, and then there's Fennec and Dune working together. It's all really cool, really fluid, looks great, really good to see. There is a point where Cara Dune's rifle jams. I didn't know that they could do that. Again, this is the second time after last episode, but this episode is so good that I am willing to overlook anything small like that. That's neither here nor there. So Mando reaches the blast door where the Dark Troopers are being held. They're pretty much ready to go now. They're all active and they're about to start piling out into the ship. He manages to lock the doors and seal most of them in, but one does get out. These guys are tough buggers. Mando struggles to fight it off. He ends up managing to and dispatching it with the Beskar spear, but they're not easy to take down. He does also at this point use the last of his little screaming missiles, which they're made of Beskar and they did nothing to it, so who knows what these things are made of. I think these troopers are made of Beskar. I don't know if that's been confirmed, but they're definitely effective and very menacing. But with that one dispatched, Mando manages to open the airlock at the back of the room where the Dark Troopers are kept, and they're all sucked out into space. Sounds a little too easy, doesn't it? Now with our group on the bridge, they, again, just brutally effective, just clear it out. But as they take control of the ship, Moff Gideon isn't there. That's because he's in Grogu's prison cell with Grogu, who is handcuffed and just sat there. He looks pretty tired, the poor kid. Mando comes in. Moff has the Darksaber pointed towards Grogu, and they have a little bit of a conversation. Mando basically says, all I want is Grogu. I don't care about the Darksaber, I don't care about anything else. So Moff Gideon lets Mando approach to move to pick up Grogu, and then strikes with the Darksaber. A couple of hits on Mando's jetpack, and then Mando using his bracers to block the strikes. They have a cool little fight in the corridor. Again, Mando with the spear, and Moff Gideon obviously with the Darksaber. This is again a really cool scene. The action in this episode is so far just incredible. Eventually, Mando disarms Moff Gideon, beats him to the floor, but decides to leave him alive and take Gideon, Grogu, and the Darksaber in hand to the bridge. Mando enters the bridge with his, I suppose his prize, and Grogu. Straight away, Bo-Katan's kicking off. She needs to know what happened, she needs to know why, and it's at this point that Gideon starts to really work his magic. He's a sly bastard, this one. He's just stirring things, he's explaining what the saber is, but it's the story that holds the power, and apparently the Darksaber can only be taken in battle and cannot be given freely. We will touch on that later on. But this basically means that Bo must beat Mando in combat to get the Darksaber and reclaim her birthright. Luckily we don't get any further with that story thread. because the proximity alert goes off. And you remember those Dark Troopers that got spaced? Yeah, they have rocket boots, and all of them are now back on the ship at different points. Some of them already at the bridge, some of them spread out throughout the rest of the ship. And in the panic, Gideon is knocked over by Cara Dune as they're preparing to make a last stand. Gideon manages to grab a blaster and he just tucks that away for safety, biding his time before he can make a move. With the Dark Troopers filling the ship, there seems to be a lot of them. I'm not entirely sure how many of them were spaced, but there's definitely a lot of them, and it doesn't look good for our heroes. But then, proximity sensor sounds off again, and a lone X-Wing approaches the cruiser. Yes, that's right, ladies and gentlemen. It's on. This is the coolest thing I think I've seen on TV in a very long time. Or streaming, however you want to interpret this. But on the view screens on the bridge, we see a cloaked figure with a lightsaber in hand, cutting through Dark Troopers like they're butter. It's amazing. This sequence, the whole sequence from now on, is just the best in the episode, and the episode is probably the best one they've done. The Jedi just works their way through the ship, saber swinging, force powers. There's everything you want to see from a Jedi. Really, really cool. As our Jedi is making their way to the bridge, they're pretty much there by this point. Gideon pops up with a blaster in hand and guns down Bo. He then turns the blaster onto Grogu. Mando dives in front to protect Grogu from the blaster bullets, or the blaster bolts, and then Cara smacks Gideon around the side of the face with the butt of a rifle, putting him on the floor and knocking him unconscious. Which, how else is something like that going to go? Brilliant scene, really good. But now the Jedi is at the blast doors, cuts down the final Dark Troopers, and Mando, at this point, much to the protests of, I think it's Koska, but either Koska or Bo, decides to open the blast doors, and we get the confirmation of who this Jedi is. I mean, you know who it is, right? It's bad CGI face Luke. After a really nice, touching scene of Grogu and Mando saying goodbye, Mando removing his helmet so Grogu can see his face, and another little surprise cameo from R2, who comes rolling onto the bridge, and I think convinces Grogu to come with Luke and R2. They leave, the three of them, and as Luke, R2 and Grogu enter the turbo lift and the blast doors close, or the lift doors close, we cut to black. And that's it. That's the episode. Amazing episode. But there's more. We then cut to Tatooine and Jabba's palace, or formerly Jabba's palace, where we have Fat Bib Fortuna sitting on the throne, guards around him, Twi'lek dancer on a chain, as a volley of blaster fire breaks out and Fennec clears all the guards out, shoots the chain, frees the Twi'lek slave, and Boba Fett walks in. Bib's trying to be all nice and friendly, and I've heard rumours you were back, and Boba just guns him down. Sits on the throne and takes his place at the head of the Tatooine crime syndicate. This is confirmation of the Boba Fett show that's been long rumoured, called The Book of Boba Fett, coming December 2021. I don't know if this is a show or a movie, it could be either, but more Boba Fett and more Fennec, yes please. So that in itself is a really cool little thing at the end. Obviously this is post credits, if you missed it, go back and watch it because it's excellent. Before we get into my full thoughts, I have two problems with this episode. Now they're nitpicks, one's not huge, one could potentially be huge. First one, which isn't huge. Bad CGI face Luke doesn't look great. I mean, it looks like Luke, but the face itself is quite flat. It's lacking emotion. Around the eyes and the forehead don't seem great when he talks. The voice is there, and it's credited as Mark Hamill. I know that there was a body double who did the movements, but with the innovations that Marvel have done in de-aging people and doing this stuff, I thought that they could have done a better job with the face. It's a minor gripe in an overall excellent sequence that basically does for Luke what Rogue One did for Vader. It's that cool. Second gripe, and this is potentially canon breaking, the Darksaber, the previous owner was Sabine Wren, who is a Mandalorian, same as Mando. When she had the Darksaber, she just handed it to Bo-Katan and said, "This is your birthright, you should lead Mandalore clans." There was no issue with that. Bo-Katan just took it and it was fine. But now there's this change where it's got to be won in battle. I don't really know where that's come from. Rebels, that this happened in, is written by Dave Filoni, who is part of this. It might just be an oversight, it might be to add drama, I don't really know. I don't really think it's great, but I'm sure Season 3 will give us the answers. Again, it's not really a big gripe, it's just a nitpick on canon. But I would guess that the live action stuff supersedes the animated stuff for canon, so it might just be that this is the case now. But, final thoughts. This episode was not only the best episode that we've had of The Mandalorian from either series, it's also the best Star Wars we've had in a very long time. It has everything you want, it's just pure Star Wars. And it's very true to the world that George created, even doing Luke right, which is huge, just amazing. The music, again, exceptional. This episode particularly was the best that we've had, so kudos there. The action, again, the action keeps getting better and better and better every episode. This one blows that out the water. This was just incredible. Some of the best action that I think I've ever seen certainly on a streaming show. It's akin to Daredevil, season 1 and 2. It's that good. The Netflix ones. It's very fast, it's brutal, it's fluid, it's just excellent. The ending itself throws up more questions than it answers, which it depends what you're wanting. It works for me because we know that there's a season 3. You could go anywhere from this point, and I think I'm going to make a video after the weekend when I've had a chance to just take a breath. I think I'm going to sort of see where we can go and see if I can come up with some theories, and that might be quite fun, something a little bit different. But it does leave us in an interesting position for most of the main characters of the show that we've been introduced to this season. The absolute standout is the action sequences with Luke. Whoever was the body double for Luke really nailed the movement, the fighting, the use of force, and when the saber strokes, everything just feels like Mark Hamill in Jedi. Just perfect, absolutely perfect. And it's so cool to see R2 as well, and R2 really being R2, just perfect. I have been a little critical with the Dark Troopers in episode 6 when they showed up this season. I really thought they were handled amazingly in this. Very menacing, they were a real threat. And what capped it off was just the way that Luke cut through them like butter. That shows you how powerful this guy is. And if you can recast Luke in a way that honours Mark Hamill's legacy, with the blessing of Mark Hamill, that looks like Luke and feels like Luke, I would happily take a Luke series after seeing this. I would have maybe shied away after how Solo was handled, but I would take a film or a series. Or we need more Luke, of Luke in his prime, just amazing. Also, the team of Bo-Katan, Costa, Dune and Fennec was excellent. They worked extremely well together. All the scenes flowed. The action was great. Little note, don't worry too much about Bo. She does get up after being gunned down by Gideon, so we know she's probably fine. All in all, this episode was excellent. It went a long way to fixing a lot of the issues that I have with modern Disney Star Wars. I think that's because you've got a creative team like Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni who they probably have Star Wars running through their veins. Really good. Excellent. It doesn't forgive all of the sins created by the Kennedy regime, but I'm very happy with it, and I'm very invested again in at least this part of the Star Wars world. And with the amount of shows that they've just announced, it's a good thing that they're really working with Favreau and Filoni for some of these shows at least, because the amount of goodwill that these guys are generating with the fan base is huge. I do want to talk more about the book of Boba Fett as well. That's going to be for another time, because I need to just let this digest. It's been quite a busy week, so into next week I'd like to think that we can look at the book of Boba Fett, if there's anything that's been announced, or even just pick over some theories, and also where season 3 of The Mandalorian can go. Lots of exciting stuff. This was brilliant. Exactly what I wanted to see. So much better than I was expecting. I do feel after last week I was maybe a bit harsh on the episode. It's the only episode this season that I've only watched once. I still haven't gone back and watched it again. But I've seen this episode twice, and it's just everything about it is perfect. This is Star Wars to me. This is what I want as an adult. This is what I want to see from Star Wars. So big thumbs up for Favreau and Filoni, because they are knocking out the park with this. But thank you very much for watching these reviews. It's been an 8-episode season. There's quite a few reviews out there, and this has been the first show that I've been reviewing on the channel. So I think things have maybe changed even over that short period of time. I hope that you've enjoyed them all. So put something down in the chat. Let me know what you thought. I loved it. You can probably tell. But thank you very much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.